Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X. It has been a little bit of time, and I thank everyone who is still subscribed to this channel in the little gap of a week that has had no uploads. I'm not going to get into that here. Yeah, we're going to get directly into exciting information. So let's see. A little rusty. Let me see if I can get these plugs in real quick. If you haven't already been to the official site on Facebook for Dragon Ball Super the card game, you should check it out. Excellent place where you can get the official spoilers, the official announcements, everything you need to know how to play the game, where to play the game, what products coming out. And then if you haven't been to the community group, I was just going there too. Plenty of information to be had, lots of questions answered. It's a great place. You also have Universe X, which is my personal Facebook group. It's also a ghost town. I apologize for that. But past that, you got the Universe X Discord, which is less of a ghost town, but still sort of a ghost town. And yeah, that's pretty much that. The last thing I wanted to go on about is TCG Metals. They are always making brand new metal leaders that tickle anybody's fancy. They have a bunch of good art. This is exactly where I got my custom Dark Broly and Paragus into Xeno Harambe, one of my favorite alt arts of all time. Used it for quite some time. It's also where I got my Gohan art, which is actually right here. It's a metal Gohan leader, bang, that actually has the sauce, the manga in the back. And he's always making more and more, and it'll be excellent to see. So, with that being said, we are going to get into the ban list. Everybody's been wondering about this. It's so close to Nats, and we are at a point where we need to understand exactly what we're up against so we know exactly what we are playing, you know? And this ban list is gonna rustle some jimmies. Most of you guys have already seen it about an hour ago. So let's get into it. Woo! I'm just gonna read the opening blurb. This is just crazy. Greetings DBSCG fans. Thank you for your continued support of the Dragon Ball Super card game. As always, we continue to constantly monitor and evaluate the state of the game to ensure a healthy and competitive gameplay experience, through continued testing, observing tournament results, and community feedback. We have concluded that the additional adjustments are necessary to facilitate what we believe to lead to a fresher, more diverse metagame and even better version of Dragon Ball Super, the card game. Look, I always have to give it to them. When they're on it, they're on it. All right. This is just oof. For the release of Sand Showdown, we're adding 1 card to the ban list and 2 cards to the errata list. So it's a small thing. This isn't really a sweeping list. This is an adjustment, and I think people need to understand that these are very important when it comes to competitive play. You can whine, you can moan, you can complain about anything you want to when it comes to Bandai or their practices, but this is the type of stuff you guys need to pay attention to. More than the reprints, more than anything. The fact that they are able to keep their ear to the ground, listen to the tournament results, listen to the forum talk, listen to the, social media, and pick and choose which cards may lead to stale gameplay. So, that's actually pretty wild. I think that this is a huge leap and should not be ignored. Now, when it comes to what we're doing here, the first card and only card on the ban list is Violent Rush Bojack. Yeah. Lots of people thought this would be Zamasu, but no, it's Violent Rush Bojack. They say the presence of this card creates additional energy that any blue/yellow deck can utilize for strong defensive plays at minimal cost. We predict this card to become over-centralizing in the upcoming and future formats, so we've decided to ban it to encourage exploration of new strategies. Now, Bandai has been on this for a little bit. When they see cards or a card that make it so that there's no reason to really play outside of those cards in a color or colors, they generally hedge it, because you can't just keep a color confined to one play. And this is pretty much just like that. Violent Rush Bojack allows with blue decks, with mono blue decks or blue decks splashing yellow, it isn't actually as relevant. Like, you can still use it. It's still definitely a great card. But at the end of the day, you have so many untapped tricks in blue. You know, you your Galactic Busters that you'll be able to do some things. You've got your Sensu Beans, you've got your leader because you're probably playing Soul Striker, you've got your D Magics, you've got so many things. But in a yellow deck, every color I believe should have color identity. Blue has draw, energy manipulation, and ramp. Red has minus effects, cheap low to the ground beaters, and like generally just aggression, cheap aggression. Green has a lot of destruction, whether it be hand or board. Black, easy come, easy go, pressure has always generally been Black's thing. And then you have yellow, which is control. You tap things, you draw, you minus advantage of your opponent. Now, cards like Violent Rush Bojack, and like, I mean, you have the cards that go in between the colors that try to bridge some of these things, you know what I mean? Like, I've been yellow and blue is a combination that tries to have control and manipulation. However, Violent Rush Bojack essentially allows yellow to untap like it's blue, and not really a hybrid of the colors, more of an addition of one mechanic to another mechanic, or to another color. And as you guys have been seeing, playing against Kid Icarus, or now in this case any blue yellow or yellow with blue splash, Violent Rush Bojack pretty much allows you to never have to be tapped out. Like, at most you're tapped out for a battle phase or a single combo phase or combo step. And the way this is going to work is that, you know, you are going to be able to take that hit, Aegis, untap, draw a card. That's the most important part. You're replacing the card you just discarded. And then you're going to be able to use all your things past that. Your Sensu Beans, maybe your Warcry. Like, this is very, very important. And I do believe that this is a good hit because the deck had far too much flexibility. It's not just about cards in hand. You can have 25 cards in hand, but if you don't have energy to use anything, you're going to have to use half of that hand to defend yourself on turn 4. But the fact that Bojack was able to untap your energy and cantrip and open you up to things like your Sensu Beans, more negates, you were able to always keep that hand, defend yourself flawlessly. And I think that this is just a card that needed to be answered. So moving on to the next one. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I think this card needed to go down in copies. I still think it's pretty oppressive, but at the same time, with people constantly trying to seek this card and it being one of the new promo cards, yeah, it wasn't gonna go anywhere, it seems like. But you've got Zamasu the Eliminator. Reason this card's unique ability to stop unison cards from being played has proven even more disruptive than originally intended and limits viable strategies. We've decided to errata this card to only affect battle cards in order to bolster the amount of viable competitive decks and player enjoyment. So, shout out, I'm gonna give a shout out to one of my dudes in the Joe crew, because he said that this would be the hit that he would add to it. I thought that it was a little too light, but at the same time, Zamasu's biggest problem, in my opinion, one, the card's overtuned. I mean, it's a check land, it cantrips, it can counter, it can also get around deflect because it can tap as an auto after being played on a card that has deflect. It can 2-for-1, it can counter something and tap something else. It's a very powerful card. But the issue with it being able to counter unisons is that we're in a format where unison is one of your most important plays in a lot of decks. It's how you awaken, it's how you set up your free defenses, it's how you set up a lot of cards. And so for a card to be able to be like, I went first, therefore you can't play a unison. Oh, did I draw enough cards to see another one? Cool, good luck playing your unison on turn 2. Cool, did I see it enough times? Let me counter your turn 3 play. And I've said it time and time again with people that have gone back and forth with me on it. My issue with Zamasu the Eliminator is that a mid-range deck should struggle against an aggro deck for the first couple turns. It should be your fight to survive to mid-range, to be in the spot where your best deck is, or best plays are. Every deck needs to be fighting to get to their best turns. An aggro deck needs to have the first 3 to 4 turns of the game be their best turns, 4 being the final window for the most part. And then they should be fighting for their life to close games versus mid-range, and then pretty much deciding when to scoop if you get too far in the game versus control. Meanwhile, a mid-range deck should both struggle in the beginning, in my opinion, to get to mid-range where they are the most powerful and can control the game, but should also have a tougher time getting past turns 6, 7, and 8 against control, because that should be where control takes control. And then control should have its battle to stabilize. The early part of the game should be the hardest part of control, and then it should get easier and easier as the game goes by. Zamasu the Eliminator is a card that forces your opponent. If you go first, it forces your opponent into the mid game. No questions asked. You could literally just play it 3 times in a row and then look at your opponent and know that you are now in a point in the game where they cannot breach your defenses nearly as easily as they could. And it was just kind of very disruptive. Also against Soul Striker, since you play your unison on 3, it doesn't matter whether you go first or second with a blue-yellow deck or a yellow-blue deck. Zamasu was getting in them cheeks, and it was always going to just destroy Soul Striker. You can always play it before they can play their unison. So this is still, like I said, I think it's a little light, but I do think this is a very big step in the right direction and will allow you to do a lot more things. You can now play your unison safely against yellow-blue decks, and that's a huge thing. This next one is big too. You got Galactic Buster. Reason. This card can be used any blue to create an energy economy surpassing its expected use. Yes, because players were very, very keen to see how this card worked, realizing that you can tap the energy for Galactic Buster. Well, you can tap the energy, and then you can swap the energy to pretty much refresh it. It's pretty strong. Yeah, designed as a defensive tool for blue decks, changes the banned/limited/errata list for showing us to popularize this card outside of Bojack Brigade decks. Yeah, more than originally intended. We decided to errata this card to Bojack Brigade leaders to encourage more creative strategies for blue leaders. So, this is actually really funny because this errata it lends itself interestingly. And what I mean by that is they didn't just change it to mono blue Bojack leaders, they changed it to Bojack Brigade, meaning you can now use this with your yellow Bojack leader. Now, whether that's going to flesh out or not with some of the archetype specific cards, that's another story. But this also leaves room for the future if they ever introduce Bojack again, or more Bojack support that isn't color locked. So this is a very, very, very interesting hit. Yeah, you can see this right now. Now you can't use the Bojack Brigade package in Soul Striker or SS4, and that is huge. that is massive. That is massive. So we are going to go over here, and we are also issuing erratas the following cards in order to work properly as intended. Now, basically, there was a bunch of cards named Son Goku, and then their names in the new Goku archetype, which we will be getting to soon. Sorry I was late for that. Like I said, I've been in a kind of slump and it's been hard to record. But now pretty much all the cards that said Son Goku are going to have Kaio-Ken Son Goku in front of the name. So Son Goku confronting invasion will now be Kaio-Ken Son Goku confronting invasion. Son Goku maximum gains will now be Kaio-Ken Son Goku maximum gains. And that's going to be like, yeah, that's just pretty much it. So that's actually pretty cool. I dig that. Like, they just needed to do a little clarification, stuff like that. Now the question is, where does this leave us? I'm going to be quite frank with you. Icarus is not dead by any means. It's still a very strong deck. However, the thing you're gonna have to understand with Icarus now is that Icarus has lost 2 crucial components. You can play your unison now, meaning that you can awaken earlier, meaning that you can have your untap shenanigans, you can draw extra cards, you can put things out, you can get your strategies on board. So decks will be able to get off the ground faster now against yellow-blue Icarus or any yellow-blue strategy. On top of that, without Violent Rush Bojack, you are now no longer going to be able to play aggressively or spend your energy to maximum efficiency. So now, when you tap out, you're tapped out. There's no way to untap out. And this is going to mean the deck cannot play the same quality of cards. You will not be able to play 3 energies worth of stuff on 3 energy, knowing that when they swing, you're going to untap and be able to go nuts. This is a huge thing. The deck will have to slow down. The deck will have to definitely take a step back in order to understand where it's going to be able to play. So with these two things in the same mix, I do think this puts Icarus in a very precarious situation where you're going to have to test it really hard to know if you actually want to play it anywhere near the same way. That's just a matter of fact. You need to be able to really sit down and ask yourself, does this deck still have the gas it does now that I cannot play on curve perfectly? Now that I cannot stall my opponent into my strongest phase of the game. So Icarus is in a very weird, precarious space. Now, moving past that, you're looking at Soul Striker now. Soul Striker, if you were playing a yellow-blue variant, blue-yellow variant, you have lost Violent Rush. But at the same time, and you lost some of the utility of Zamasu. But at the same time, one of the biggest hits is Galactic Buster. Galactic Buster was able to cantrip, untap energy, and put bodies on board to disrupt your opponent's plays. Whether that be the dual attacking 20k that bounces to the bottom of the deck, or whether that be bigger Bojack later in the game. Without Galactic Buster and Soul Striker, you have to run other cards, and your defense is not as tight. Meaning that Soul Striker has effectively taken a small yet still significant nerf. That was a huge part of the deck. So we're looking at the two giants of the format kind of put on their back. Now, when we're looking at that now leaves us with the question, where do you think will be for Nats, okay? And I can tell you right now, Soul Striker still has gas. It will have to play different cards, but it still has gas, and there's a lot of options for it to do. By the kind of transit property, SS4 is the same way. You are going to be able to do a lot with these cards, and that's just how it is. You're going to be able to still play a lot of good blue cards in a lot of the same ways. You just won't be able to be as ironclad in the defense. And don't forget, they still have one of the best SCRs in the game, that being Baby Hatch. However, because Icarus is in a place where they cannot play the same way, and Soul Striker has lost some of its defense. Now, I'm not going to say a card like, Galactic Buster really saves Soul Striker from Gogeta Zeno, because Galactic Buster tends to be more effective, turn 3, 4, 5, and beyond, in my opinion. But with this change happening, especially with Icarus kind of a little bit out of the way, Gogeta Zeno is in a prime position to do damage. That's just unavoidable. They really actually are in a position where they can do a lot of work, and that's scary. However, you're also going to be looking at the fact that red decks that are on the cusp of kind of just, they could pull some matches, but maybe you wouldn't want to take it the distance. Yeah, Icarus was a huge wall for red. And so now Icarus is a little hurt. Red has a decent to good blue matchup, depending on the build. You're at a space right now where red may be a contender for this as well. So you're kind of shifting more to mid-range aggro right now. And it's definitely interesting. Now, Cell Surge did not get touched. That's something that people need to pay attention to. Cell Surge did not get touched, and if you do not have an answer to that deck, you will be folded. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You will be folded if you do not have an answer to Cell Surge. So that's a matchup that you desperately need to practice. I think that going into Nats, if you're a competitive player, you're already playing against Soul Striker. You need to keep that energy up. If you are going to Nats, you need to get your Gogeta Zeno matchup down. If you're going to Nats, you need to get your Cell Surge matchup down. These are three matchups that are going to be paramount to success at Nats, in my opinion. You also will still need to be able to get some of the rogue decks. There's a lot of decks out here that can still do work. I mean, you've got Green Majin Buu. You have Starter Deck Vegeta. There's a lot of decks floating around that can still hurt you, that you need to be cognizant of. But that's just a matter of being aware of card quality and looking at cards as they come out. So that is my video. I'm gonna do some more breakdown a little later. If you want me to go deeper into what I think Nats format could look like, comment down in the description, or comment down in the comments, and I'll cook that video up sooner than later. So once again, thank you guys for weathering the wait. If you like the content, think about hitting that subscribe button, and I will see you guys the next time you decide to join Universe X. Let me know in the comments if you like the ban list, what you think about it, and I'll see you the next time. Later.